Hi, everyone. Welcome to another show of, you guessed it, Your Past Does Not Define Your Future. And today's guest, I'm so excited to have here because she is a wealth of knowledge. And by her own admittance, she's from New York and still has a New York accent. However, I'll let you be the judge of that because for me, being a British person, all Americans sound the same to me. So I can't distinguish between any of the accents. So I'll let you figure that one out. So welcome, Robin. How are you today?
Doing great, Helen. No, really, I don't speak like that anymore, except when I'm really tired. That one you could tell, right? No, but I do, when I'm excited, tend to fall back into Brooklyn-ness. So, and sometimes speaking about things like this gets me excited. So
good. I'm glad. So you've got a lot to share. You've done a lot in your lifetime, and I'm hoping that you're going to share some nuggets with us so that the audience may or may not pick something up and learn from it, or have some thoughts about it to maybe change some things that they do. So you're very busy and have been busy. So what is it that what was your passion in your life? What things made you feel passionate?
It's funny because I always felt like passion was something that was really missing for me. Like I felt like I have it all except passion. So it's funny that you'd bring up that word. And I realized that some people are lucky. They're just born with it. They grow up knowing what they want to be when they grow up. And it's something that I always was searching for. And sometimes it's there and you don't see it. Sometimes you have to create it on your own. What's the other word that I'm looking for? Your purpose.
Right.
People spend their whole lives looking for their purpose, looking outside themselves. Where's my purpose? What am I here for? One day, you know me, I became a seminar junkie, and that's in my 30s, and that we'll go back to that one in a minute when we talk about the past and the future. But one day in my seminars, I realized that maybe my purpose isn't out there. Maybe my purpose is actually in here. And when I started looking inside, I found it right away, or I declared it.
Mm-hmm.
I said, you know what, my purpose, I'm declaring my purpose in life. My purpose is to spread joy. And my purpose is that every day I can deliver on it because my purpose is to make somebody else laugh or smile every day. And I can deliver on that purpose every day.
I was going to say, and you usually do. You usually do. And you're absolutely right. People do look outside of themselves for happiness. They look outside of themselves for purpose. They look outside of themselves for answers. When every single time, if you go inside, that's where you're going to find everything. So tell us how you what career you did, what defined where you are now.
So writing, I'm a writer right now. I'm a freelance writer, but I'm a semi-retired, part-time, self-employed freelance writer, which is a mouthful, but I call myself #retired with a capital T for tired, because I don't know how I ever had a job and a life. And I hear that a lot from many of my retired friends, because we actually do. And now's where that word passion starts to come in, because we get to do the things that we always wanted to do that maybe we didn't do because we were working so hard. But I started my career as a journalist, and writing always came easy to me. But I was warned in school that when you go to work for a magazine, which is what I saw myself as, a magazine journalist, there can only be one top banana. There's one editor-in-chief. So you really had to be good, and you really had to work hard to get to the top. Otherwise, you're just always going to be an underling. But I was kind of okay with that. I just thought it was a very glamorous job. And it's nothing's as glamorous as it seems, but there was a certain amount of glamour to it anyway. And in my 20s, I started, that was in the 80s. Yeah, in the 80s, and money was good and people were giving stuff away, and it was really fun because we'd borrow clothes for a photo shoot, and when we finished
Exactly.
keep it. I worked for
Right.
Children's Wear magazine. My friends' kids did really well in terms of beautiful samples, but the pay was not good. And at that time, I guess I never really learned from my parents, or certainly not in school, about setting goals, about choosing what you wanted to do with your life. It was kind of in those days, my parents told me, oh, you'll go to school, you'll go to college, you'll meet a guy, you'll get married, and that's your life, you'll have kids. So there never was really a at least in my house and in most of my friends, we didn't get that we didn't get the grow up, be a good wife, be a good mom. We didn't get that message, but we didn't get any, oh, you can have a career, you could be president. We just didn't get any kind of guidance, not from home, not even in school. So I was really smart, but nobody said to me, hey, if you really applied yourself, you could become a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer. I was good in math. I could have been, had I known, but nobody really gave me direction. So I got a Regents scholarship, which was something they did in New York. And I was tuition at City College in New York was free at that time. So I just sort of la-di-da into and out of. And my mom worked near the Fashion Institute of Technology in New York. She had friends there that, and they said, oh, well, your daughter doesn't like Brooklyn College. Okay, she couldn't get the class she wanted. Okay, we'll put her into FIT. And it was there that I discovered that I had a real talent for writing and journalism. And FIT tended to push you right into the Garment Center. And so I became a writer in the Garment Center. And that was it. So it was all sort of, it happened outside me. And so I went along my merry way. And the year that I turned 30, we were in a very tough few months of a real crunch time. And at the end of the 3 months, I saw the salespeople going home at 5 or 6 o'clock, and we were working till 9, 10 o'clock. At the end of 3 months, the sides of my hair turned white. I think I was 23. And that was later in my 20s, but I realized that maybe this wasn't the best goal. Maybe I wanted to make more money. And my friends were saying to me, Robin, don't look for jobs, write a book, How to Live Like a Millionaire in New York City on $20,000 a year. So I was thinking, maybe there are other options for me. So
right. There's always other options, yes. So which option did you choose?
I never really knew that. So I had, the year I turned 30 was my big epiphany year. I was introduced to a program that I believe was called Sales for Women or something along those lines, where there was a gentleman who had a business. And what he did was he took women from all different careers, not just, I mean, I was in business, so I knew how to deal with business people, but there were teachers, there were nurses, there were housewives, all people who had no business experience at all. And he taught us how to sell, basic sales skills, but more important, interviewing skills, so that it got to where I went on tons of interviews and I got tons of offers. And one day I went on an interview in the morning and I got an offer, and I went on the interview at lunchtime. I got a second interview, a second offer. I came back from lunch. There was a note from my boss that please see me before the end of the day. And I got fired. He said, everybody knows you can't get a new job, so go get a new job, but I think you'll fall flat on your face. Wow. And this is, of course, a very condensed version of the story, but I basically said, well, good thing that I don't really listen to anything you say. So thanks a lot. And after work, I went on a third interview. I got a third offer. I accepted a job, and then I became a salesperson. So that year, I also bought my first apartment, and I took up skiing for the first time. Because what I learned, And that was when I started going to seminars. And what I learned in all of this was that, going back to where we started, is your past does not dictate your future. You can do whatever you want to do. And I lost those words pretty much. Occasionally they do come up, but I lost the words I can't, I tried, I don't, that's not like me, I don't do those things. And boy, what did that open up? So
exactly, yeah. My grandmother always said the same thing. When we were growing up, if we said, "Oh, I can't do this," my grandmother would always turn around and say, "There's no such word as can't."
Yeah, you won't.
Yeah.
You don't choose to. It might not be easy. But what I learned to do was to replace I can't with, see, there's the Brooklyn, I can't. How would you say it? I can't. You replaced I can't with how can I?
Right.
And when you look at a problem or a situation from that point of view, it opens up a world of possibilities.
Absolutely.
And I shared this with a lot of friends, and some of them looked at me like I was crazy. I said to my best friend, whose daughter was in college, you know, these kids should start putting away a little bit of money every week to get into the habit of saving now, because even if they save a little bit of money from 20 to 30 and never put away another penny, they'll still retire millionaires because they were like 20. And they can't do that. They're in college, they have money. And I said, why not look at it as how can they?
Right, absolutely.
You know, flash forward 30, 40 years, and some of these kids have no money still.
Oh, yeah.
Because they weren't taught that. So it's semantics, but it's not. Because it changes the mindset. And so I went on to have a fairly successful sales career. I never made a lot of money. I never made the big money because I never developed that killer instinct, because that might be something that is really inborn. But I was a fairly successful salesperson because I knew my stuff and I took care of my clients. And I was very lucky, but I had very good jobs that supported me in that type of sales.
So where did you go after you moved down to Florida? Because you were up north all this time.
I was in New York, and I was in the fashion business, and I was in fashion publishing because I was in ad sales. And then I moved to Florida. There was no fashion industry. The publishing industry that I was used to was on a national, international level. And here everything was very, very local and focused. And I was like, huh? So for several years, I floundered down here. I kept taking sales jobs and failing at them and losing the jobs or quitting the jobs or just not making enough money. So I finally said, you know, I clearly don't want to be in sales. And what else can I do? Now, where I see that's very telling is every job I've ever been fired from came with a glowing letter of recommendation and bosses saying, I'm so sorry I have to do this. Right. And as opposed to getting fired, I have friends who get fired and make it about them not being good enough. But again, is it semantics, or, you know, do your words create your thoughts? Do your thoughts create your words? You and I have had this conversation. But if you come out of that and you say, I'm no good, I have no talent, I'm not good at that, you can really put yourself in a hole. It's like going on a date and the guy doesn't call, and then you make it like, what did I do wrong? Or you can say the guy's a jerk and he's the loser. So, but you don't know, because you don't know what goes on in somebody else's mind. It's all, you're going to make it up anyway. Make up something that's going to empower you. So I said, I clearly don't want to be in sales anymore, as opposed to I'm no good at sales.
Right.
From that puts me, they take the same situation, put me in a power position. What do I, a position of power. What do I want to do?
Right.
And I had found through the years, people started referring to me as a creative person. And I never looked at myself that way, although I wrote very easily. I had started doing blogs and websites. I made jewelry. I always put together, as you know, videos and slideshows and power boards and vision boards. And I went, oh, you know what? I guess I am creative. And I was able to really embrace that side of myself. And then when the opportunity came up for me to start writing professionally again, as an editor of our local paper here in Hollywood, Florida, I was like, wow, this is easy. This is fun. And I get paid for it. Who knows what would have happened if I stayed doing that for the last 30 years? I might have become that big shot at a magazine, but probably not, because I never really wanted to work that hard. It was more important to me to enjoy what I was doing.
And that is a lesson there, is to enjoy what you're doing. And there's always shiny bits over here, and people go towards the shiny stars and everything, but they're not necessarily happy with what they do. And they think that big bucks is going to make them happy. And it doesn't always. In fact, usually it never does. It's what you want to do. And like you said, going inside, finding what your purpose, passion, or whatever, but what makes you happy, what makes your soul happy, what makes you come home at night and be happy with your family. And I think that's the message you've got here, is do what you love and love what you do.
They always say that, you know, they say, oh, you know, if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. I don't buy that one either, Helen, because there's a reason they call it work.
Right.
Love what you do, it's still work. That's why they pay you for it.
Correct.
And that's the responsibility that you make when you make a commitment to someone outside of yourself. You have two kinds of commitments. You have your commitments to yourself, your commitments to other people.
Right.
You can filter on your own commitments to yourselves, but your word is your honor.
Correct.
And if you don't keep your word to other people, you got nothing.
And also that gets around the industry, because each industry is quite small, and the world itself is getting smaller because people travel so much. And I don't think we're 6 degrees of separation anymore. I think we're like 2 degrees of separation.
I agree.
You know, everybody knows everybody, or somebody knows someone, all of this sort of stuff. So you have to be very careful about what your perception is outside of yourself, because that's what people talk about, because their perception of what you're portraying outwardly is what is people's reality about you.
Perception is reality.
100%. 100%.
I absolutely agree with that.
So you've done all of this. So now that you're in retirement, sort of
semi-retired, self-employed, part-time freelance writer.
What is on your bucket list that you still want to do?
Well, I guess I'm lucky. I'm lucky because I got to do a lot of things throughout my career that I wanted to do. I wanted to travel. I guess the biggest thing on my bucket list, which you've gotten to do a couple of times, which is live in another country.
Right.
I really want to live in another country. My goal, my thought, I've been reading that International Living magazine since I'm about 16. And then I'm like, oh my God, I'm here. You know, I'm retired.
Yes, exactly.
And so far it hasn't quite worked out that way.
Yes.
You know, my boyfriend, he's kind of a homebody. And when I met him, he said, I'm not interested in traveling, but now he'll go anywhere I want to go. And then COVID hit. So what we're thinking about now is maybe renting a place in Europe next summer for 3 or 4 months. And that'll be our first foray into that. And so that's sort of the big one. But I've been lucky. I've been lucky because, I said before, I never made big money as a salesperson. And part of the reason is every place I'd go, every money-making seminar, they'd say, "What's your why?" And people would say, "I want to leave a better world or more money for my children so they don't have to go through what I did." That's, and yours was not necessarily about money, but you want to leave a better world for your children, your grandchildren. Some people would say, "I want to cure cancer." Some people they had these huge goals, right? And I would go like, I already live at the beach. I already drive a cute little convertible. Really, I don't like shop. I'm a bargain shopper, so it's not like I want to go out and get designer clothes. I like to get designer clothes at a good price, but it's more about the thrill of the hunt.
Exactly.
And anything I really ever wanted to do, I did, because I was single till I was 50. So I didn't really have to worry about taking care of anyone else. And I said, I'm cheap, so I always saved money. So I'm okay. I didn't have a big why. My biggest why was I don't want to be old and live on the street and eat cat food.
Right.
And that was it. All I wanted was peace of mind.
I was just going to say, so changing that into a positive is I want peace of mind and to be able to support myself when I get into retirement, because that is something that, depending on your age, is something that you don't plan enough for. And like you said already, is telling your friends' children to start saving at an early age. And I think that's even more important now. Not that we're giving financial advice to anyone, but it's even more important now because of the population, and there's more elderly population than there are younger population paying into the system. So again, we're not financial advisors. However, it is a good rule of thumb to prepare, because you never know what the future is going to hold. And especially now that we're building robots to replace all of the working environment as well.
Yeah, scary. We don't get enough training in that, and you never know. It's gosh, if we knew how long we would live and we could make our money last right up to the end, wouldn't that be lovely?
Wouldn't that be nice? We either don't spend it and leave it all, or we spend it and don't have enough for the rest of it.
You just never know. Yeah, it's a tough one. You can't tell. So
but life, yes, but life is for living, and I think that through the shows, my intention is with the people that through all age groups. I've interviewed many different people already from different generations, and I think you get a broad spectrum of wisdom, advice, and experiences that other people have had that you can glean something from. So even if it's just one small thing that someone said that resonated with you, then we've done a great job of trying to pass that on. Everybody doesn't hear the same thing. You only hear what you are ready to hear. And you've been going to seminars for a long time, and I'm sure you've heard that before. You can watch a movie and then watch it again and think to yourself, well, I don't remember seeing that part, or I don't remember hearing that part, all that sort of thing, because we only hear and see where we're at the time, emotionally, spiritually, financially, all those sorts of things. And that's why when you're listening to your motivational CDs, my goodness, that's an old word. When you're listening to your whatever it is that you're listening to, your downloads, that's what it is these days. When you're listening to your downloads or you're watching your YouTubes or whatever, it's always what they say is you have to listen to it for at least 30 days, because each time you listen to it or watch it, you're going to pick up something else. And I've been listening and watching, Louise Hay, Dr. Wayne Dyer, all of these people for many years. And every time I listen to them, I pick up a different nugget, even after all these years. So it's the same with you. After all the years that you've been doing what you're doing, there's still always something new on the horizon. And I know you're always willing to learn something else. You're always open to new ideas. And I also know, because we're both involved in some of the same charity organization, that you love to give back to the community and you love to be involved with helping others, whether it's, the homeless kids that we're helping right now at Covenant House, or whether it's the foster kids that we're helping right now also, or whether it's, helping students collect what they need for their school supplies. And I know that's part of who you are also. So what does that do for you, giving back to your community?
Well, let me just say, first of all, I have to admit that when we go out and we do things like we do arts and crafts with kids or people with disabilities, I have to admit that the child that has the most fun is me. So
Yes.
So I have so much fun. It was funny. One of the women that I went to do something with at one of those places, she's actually quite prim and proper, and I can be a little bit very Brooklyn. And I think she was a little afraid. People tend to be afraid of me. I had to really tone it down when I got to Florida. But I think she was really concerned, and she was like, well, let's try it once and see if it's a good fit for you. And when we walked out, she was really pleasantly surprised. She was like, oh, Robin, you were so great with that. We're like, okay, who has the most fun, So
exactly.
That just warms my heart. Those things just warm my heart. To me, it's exciting. It's also like the giving back, the doing. As you know, I got very involved with the Hollywood Historical Society, and it's an old staid organization, and we're about to kick it into the next millennium. And this is a bunch of older women who have been with it from the inception, and now they're in their 80s and 90s. They were young and energetic when they started it, but now they're kind of like, that's not the way we do things here. So and
time for change.
We went to we were really honored and very lucky that the Broward County Cultural Division Grants Administrator gave us a grant and sent us to fundraising school. And a couple of us went and came out. I thought I'd be bored. I was like, yeah, another seminar. I haven't done those in a really long time. Snooze. And I was so engaged, and I'm so energized with it now that I don't sleep at night. I feel like I'm starting a new business. And it's about, this to me is like leaving a legacy, because this is an organization that if it doesn't change, it's going to die. Mm-hmm. And so to be able to really engineer something that's going to continue after they and eventually me are gone, and that to me, that's really exciting. But so I get to take a lot of that stuff that I learned on a personal level and share it that way. But I'll say there's a couple of things that I would throw in here is recently I was cleaning out a lot of old papers, and I found all my notebooks from all the seminars. And I opened up just a few of them at random pages, and I found things that I wrote 5, 10, and 20 years ago, these sort of long-range plans. Mm-hmm. And they said, I live at the beach. I drive a convertible. I have a guy that adores me. I wake up every morning, I open my computer, and I see how much money I made overnight, because I did make some, not huge, but good investment. And most of the time they do make money. This year, not so much, but I live a life of productivity and contribution. And I went, holy cow. Yeah. This is a life that I truly created. It really works. All those, what do we call them in the morning when we, affirmations?
Affirmations, yes. Gratitude, affirmations,
really
Mm-hmm.
work. And I took all
Yes.
those notebooks and I threw them away because I no longer needed them, because all that stuff is really ingrained in me. And I was so proud of myself. And then I realized that, and I think this is really important, going back to our very earliest questions here. You can go to Tony Robbins, you could go to Landmark, you can go to a coach, you can read lots of books, and you can read Louise Hay, and you can read, who did we say the first one?
Wayne Dyer.
Wayne Dyer, may he rest in paradise, because he was the first self-help book I ever picked up.
Yeah, he's amazing.
You could go to them all, and they say it in all different ways. But when you get down to the very core of everything that they say, it comes to this: nobody's going to change your life or your world except you.
Absolutely right. And that's a good note to finish on, because you're absolutely right. And the theme of what we've been talking about through this process is exactly that. It's up to you. You can lead a horse to water, but you're the one that's got to drink it. You're the one that's got to do what you have to do. And Robin, you've shared some amazing things. You're always smiling. You're always happy. You are living your passion. And even when things are looking like they might not be going a certain way, you have a way of turning things around and looking at it a different way, which is what is needed. And getting involved in the community, I think, is always, like you say, a heartwarming experience. And you can also see that what you have in comparison to the people that you're helping, no matter what it is more than that person that you're helping. So having gratitude also is an amazing thing that has to happen too. You were about to say something.
And I've noticed that sharing you and the gratitude, which you say, and just knowing that, I don't want to say knowing that it could be worse, but gratitude for what you do have is a constant at people at all levels of prosperity, because
Yes.
I have very poor relatives, and I have some friends who are very poor, and yet they give. When there's a hurricane, they take that little bit that they have and they share.
Yes, correct.
Because one of the laws of prosperity is that money has to flow. Correct. And that you have to have a gratitude for what you have, and be willing to share. But with that gratitude must be there, because you do know it could always be worse, no matter how bad it is, which is something that always just fascinates me.
Absolutely. So I want to thank you for today, sharing your little nuggets. I hope the audience got something out of it. We love your feedback. We love to know what's going on. Anything that you want to say to us, please put it in the comments and everything when you see this video. We love to know what's going on in your world also. Also, if you have someone as interesting as Robin is, or even more interesting, then we'd love to hear them. But I don't think anybody can be more interesting than us two. So thank you all for listening again. And it's Helen Bella signing off. And remember, mindset is the key to transformation.